always sunny down in Mexico. The sun gets high when I get low. The only way to get there is to let yourself go. Good times are made in Mexico.
Welcome to the BAI podcast, where we talk destination weddings, travel, and occasionally we pretend to know what we're doing. Today, we've got an incredible lineup of women who make destination weddings dreams come true, or at least make sure they don't turn your wedding into a complete disaster. Let's meet our guests. First up, she's young, she's ambitious, she's also single. At 23, she's already booking more weddings than agents twice her age, making the rest of us rethink our life choices. If she's not planning your big day, she's at the gym making us all look bad. The pocket-sized powerhouse, Julia Morrow. Next up, she joined BAI to help behind the scenes and somehow ended up running Evora Destinations like a boss. She's lived in more states than she can count, but we're pretty sure she's originally from Maryland. A former half marathon runner, these days her biggest endurance test is figuring out how to use her Insta360. Once ran. Finally, because nothing says romance like a global pandemic, she married her second husband in an epic destination wedding with us in 2020. After sending so much business our way just by talking to everyone she met about us, we figured, hey, she'd be good at selling weddings. So we bribed her, and now she runs Forever in the Sand Travel, which is fitting because after Memorial Day, she's permanently at the beach. Welcome, Kristen McNatt. Let's get started before Kristen disappears to Delaware, Lauren moves again, and Julia makes us all feel out of shape. Welcome to the BAI podcast. So, welcome to the Destination Wedding Shakedown. You know, there are a lot of things in life that just don't make sense, like why gas station sushi exists, why there's an airline's convenience fee, because air travel's never convenient. But folks, there's an even bigger scam happening, and it's targeting brides. Let me tell you, I've seen bridezillas before. They're not people you want to mess with. Here's the deal. Imagine this. You're planning your dream destination wedding at a stunning all-inclusive resort, and in the middle of planning, after you've already signed with the resort, you find out that you must use the resort's DJ, the resort's photographer, the videographer, the resort's band. Had you had someone else in mind? Too bad. Even if you think about bringing your own vendors in, they're going to slap you with an outside vendor fee so outrageous you'd think you were smuggling gold bricks through customs. I mean, seriously, $2,000 or more to allow you the privilege to bring your own photographer onto the property. If you want to bring your own band, it's going to be another $2,000 or more. What is this, destination wedding or hostage negotiation? And for what? So you can be forced to hire a photographer who also happens to be the guy that served you eggs at the breakfast buffet that morning, and then at night is Michael Jackson at the resort's theater? Drives me insane, right? I get it. Resorts want to make money, but guess what? So does everyone else. The difference is most businesses don't trap you into an all-inclusive racket where your only choices are take it or pay through the nose. Here's a wild idea. How about resorts just charge a reasonable outside vendor fee? Something that isn't more than the cost of the actual vendor itself? Or better yet, how about you just let people bring in the professionals they actually trust for the most important day of their lives? Let's be real. No bride has ever dreamed of having their wedding micromanaged by some corporate overlord in a polo shirt, telling them that they must use DJ Spotify Shuffle or else they'll have to pay more than the entire bar tab just to have their own choice. Brides, grooms, wedding planners everywhere. If the resort wants to play hardball, play harder. Ask about vendor fees before signing anything. Negotiate as if your life depends on it. And if they won't budge, don't be afraid to take your wedding elsewhere. I've had numerous brides that have advised me that not only are they being charged an outside vendor fee to hire a band, but they're being charged a day pass, almost $300 a person, a day pass for each member of that band to then come on site. Isn't that the whole point of the outside vendor fee? Like, you pay an outside vendor fee for the vendor to come in on site. So why do I have to pay an outside vendor fee in addition to a per person day pass? Generally, a day pass is reserved for somebody who's actually using the resort and swimming and using the spa, going to the pools, going to the restaurants. I'm not getting the double charge. And when I approached them about this, They really haven't given me any answers. In one case, one of my brides, literally the amount of outside vendor fees for her to bring her band in is more than the cost of the band total. Insanity to me. What say you guys? Julia, we'll go to you first.
Well, to that regard, I just feel like in general, outside vendor fees have gone so extreme. I'm seeing Facebook posts daily where it's like, I'm paying over $5,000 in just outside vendor fees. I've seen somewhere it's like 8,000 plus in outside vendor fees, which that to me is just crazy. And then on top of it, no bride is going to want to use a resort photographer. Photos after wedding day is the most important thing to have after wedding day, and you want someone that you trust. So I feel like if you're forcing a wedding couple to use a photographer, that's just going to rub them the wrong way. And in the end, they're not going to be happy because, like you said, these photographers, it's not like they're the professional photographers that you're hiring every day. They're the people that are working at the resort in the morning and at night, and this is just like their midday shift. So that's my thought.
100%. Couldn't agree more. What do you think, Lauren? Have you had this issue?
I have, yes. I definitely think that the outside vendor fees have kind of gotten out of hand, and the policies have too. Sometimes they're outlined pretty well in the contract when the couple first signs with the resort, and other times they kind of sneak up at the end. And so I think that that's definitely something where keeping your travel agent involved, keeping someone who's familiar with contracts involved to help you kind of guide through that process really is helpful. But yeah, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I couldn't agree more, especially with the resorts where they say no outside vendors at all. And there are a few that say no outside vendors specific to photography. And for me, that would be an immediate deal breaker. I get one shot at having my destination wedding. I want my pictures to be how I want them.
Yeah, yeah. I always love the resorts that say no outside vendors, even if they're staying at the resort and are a guest at your wedding. If your friend is a wedding photographer and you want them to shoot your wedding, nope, we're going to charge you an outside vendor fee. They're already paying to be there. You're telling them they can't show up with a camera? I mean, in today's world, they don't need special equipment access, right? So that's absolute insanity to me.
The other part of that too is there are some resorts where they say no outside vendors, but that applies to vendors in the destination. So if you're bringing in your own vendor, that doesn't include the outside vendor fee. So if you bring your photographer from the States, they stay in your room block, there's no outside vendor fee. So that also gets tricky.
The majority of them work that way, which I can appreciate because, you know, you can bring somebody from home. They're not going to you with the fees. Kristen, you got married at one of those resorts that charges insane outside vendor fees. How did you feel about this as a bride who's going through this?
It kind of shocked me. I was really, really blown away by it. But then we paid it, and I mean, it was worth it in the end. Our photography was amazing. Our video was great. Like, we were super happy with the products. But I just feel like if they're going to charge a vendor fee, the resorts themselves should focus on providing quality services as opposed to forcing brides to pay a vendor fee. So don't make the pool boy the photographer. Let's actually bring in a good qualified photographer and make that an option.
These companies hire these kind of large studios that end up having a contract with the resort that says, hey, we're going to shoot all your weddings at the resort. I'm interested in how the financials of it work, who's paying who and how much and whatnot, because the way I understand it is actually that the in-house photography company gets a large portion of the outside vendor fee for not having to do any work, which to me is insane. Most photographers are single man shows. Let's face it, it's an art. Everybody has their own different style, their different approach. And you want to hire somebody that matches with you and what you want on your wedding day. And so the big studios, they just can't have that control over having everybody have the same approach, the same style, because there is the art factor to it. There's not only art of photography or videography, but there's the art of how you go about capturing it. I can't tell you how many weddings that I did where I had a much more documentary style, let the couple enjoy their day, sit back and be a fly on the wall approach. And then the videographer that was provided by the resort had the complete opposite approach. That was in the couple's face the entire day, scripting scenes for them to play out. And it just completely took over their wedding day. I think it's just a much more personal choice. You can't have the studio mentality of a big box studio coming and doing every single wedding at the resort. At least that's what most brides don't want. But not to downplay them. From the photography world, a lot of photographers will use those big box studios that have those contracts at the hotel as their training ground. So if you want the training photographer who isn't good enough to go out on their own, because they would make a lot more money if they were doing it on their own, that's what you're going to get with one of the big box studios. So that's why I tell every one of my couples, don't hire the resort's photographer, pay the outside vendor fee.
The other who we keep running into are there's a couple of resorts that limit the number of outside vendor fees and outside vendors that you can bring in. So one resort is limiting us to 3 vendors. So our bride is kind of like, which vendors do I choose?
Which resort is that? What?
I've never heard of that.
It just came in our contract. Yep, she's limited to 3.
So is that a problem with your couple? I
It
mean, do they
is.
want more than 3 outside vendors?
They do.
I thought it would be fun if we all shared our favorite either rooftop venue, so we can all do different ones. So my favorite rooftop venue is definitely Secrets Moshe's. I just love that it overlooks the water. I like that it's to the side of the resort too, so when you overlook it, you are truly looking at the ocean. And I like the light wood of the grounding and all that. And I feel like a huge selling point to that rooftop is that they have the indoor glass area connected to it. So I feel like that's really nice because a lot of couples, they hear rooftop, they're like, oh, beating sun down on you. But when you have the option of the inflow outflow going inside and outside, I feel like that makes it an ideal location. So that's definitely my favorite rooftop location. But you can share yours too, James, if you want.
Well, so now I'm torn. It's just so many locations I'll talk about all day. But I agree with you. That rooftop location is freaking awesome, and particularly because they have that indoor outdoor and you can have everything right there. Gosh, I mean, the ability of air conditioning is huge. All right, but anyway, my favorite location, obviously we're talking ceremony only. I really like the Fives rooftop location. It's just in a perfect spot, and it's a busy beach there, but being on the rooftop, you've got that privacy by being on the rooftop. But you still got the views of the water. It's not too windy there, which is always something we worry about on the rooftop locations. We've had some amazing weddings there, both ceremony or reception.
That little walk down too of the Fives rooftop, I like that. That's really good for photos.
Hyatt Ziva Cap Cana, I would think, has a fantastic beach location and also a garden location. I just love the setting of the whole resort, to be honest. So, and they also have a rooftop. But the beach location, it's kind of off to the side a little bit on the Ziva side. So it definitely has a little bit more of a private feel, but like perfect, calm, beautiful water, great expansive beach. But then on the other side of the resort, so like on the other side of the lobby, they have this beautiful garden area. And it feels very private because even though it's right next to the water park's kind of separated by a tree line. And so you don't hear all of the noise, but it's just a beautiful, quiet garden area. And then you have the entrance to the spa, which looks like a cenote. So it just creates like a beautiful backdrop.
I feel like I'm so torn. Like every venue, like every new one, I feel like is so beautiful. Like the new rooftop at Dream Sapphire is amazing. Like the views are beautiful. I love like how they have the like the glassed area here where you can see for like what feels like miles. And then the other end of it where, they have like the infinity pool, and that's just so gorgeous over there. But I think one of my favorite ones would be Dreams Jade, the gazebo. So you walk out to it and it just looks like you could just walk on the water. It's so beautiful. The water's calm. It's that really pretty like blue color. I feel like it might not be super private, but I know the resort staff does a really nice job on like closing down most access to it. You'll still have some guests, I feel like, on the beach, but I think with a really good photographer, I think they'd be fine. But the view from there, you don't need any decor. You really don't need much. And you can have a Catholic ceremony there. Gosh, I feel like every resort we go to just keeps getting more and more beautiful, though, as far as venues go. I think it's stunning. I love the view. I think just the pictures from there are gorgeous. Everything about it.
I was actually surprised by the beach there, too. It's a property we haven't really sold a ton of. But when I went, I was kind of anticipating the beach being full of seaweed and, just small. And I was pretty impressed by it.
And one last unique venue, because I just thought of it and I absolutely love it, is the Nest at Secrets and Dreams Bahia Mita. I feel like that is such a unique venue that you really aren't seeing at any other resorts. It's such a different feel than any other type of venue. It has the greenery, but it isn't like palm trees greenery. It's just very lush and private and romantic. And I feel like when I see setups like florals and all of that, it just is a jaw-dropping venue. But the only caveat is you have to walk upstairs to get to that venue, don't you? Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the only thing to keep in mind. But I do love that venue too.
My beach location, because we're all picking multiple locations apparently. My beach location, I really like Fuentes Gazebo, which interestingly enough is not a gazebo. It's just like a beach location. Although I think I might have a little gazebo location for like ceremonies. But I'm talking about the spot where we had our retreat a couple years ago at El Dorado Royale. That location for me, I really like, again, probably just as a photographer side of things, because it's kind of shaded. I love at all El Dorado properties just the amount of palm trees there are. I cannot stand properties that you go and there's no shade anywhere. There's no break from the sun. And that's my biggest thing. I find in a lot of the newer resorts, they tear down, it's like a new housing development. They tear down every freaking tree around and clear everything. And then, throw up some houses. And I'm like, oh, gosh, they just bake in the sun all summer long. And that just is insanity to me. So it's the same way I view a resort. I don't want to bake in the sun. I want there to be shade. Fuentes Gazebo area has a ton of shade, ton of trees around it. And it ends up just being a beautiful place to photograph as well because of that. So that's my beach. It's halftime. All right. Let's do a blind react. All right, guys. So first one is on wedding trends. I saw this new trendy thing on social media and I was like, oh, well, let's just hear your reactions to it.
But the chandelier's right there.
Oh wait, I like that part.
Yeah.
I like the balloons. I'm not a fan of the veil with the balloons carrying it. I thought they were walking into oh my gosh, they were walking into their ceremony.
I believe so. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
And maybe like a ceremony that got rained out or something. They got to go inside. And I agree, Julia. I like that balloon thing, but would any of you put your freaking veil up with a bunch of balloons?
Absolutely not.
Personally, no, but I would love to attend a wedding where someone did that. That would be prime entertainment, seeing a bride walk down and their veil just floating behind them.
What
just
kind of bride
picturing-
does this? Like, what's her mindset? Did she think this was just going to be absolutely gorgeous? Because it just seems like the most unelegant thing there is to me.
I don't know. All I keep thinking about is that little boy that's in like the right-hand corner that's already crying, screaming, I want that balloon. That's all I keep thinking about.
I just keep thinking like a gust of wind. If this happened outside, like a gust of wind is just gonna.
All right, so none of you would do this at your wedding.
Maybe like the huge balloon release of everyone. I thought that was cute.
That was cute.
It was cute.
That part I agree.
Yeah, especially if they get rained out and have to move into the ballroom, the balloons are a cute idea. A trend that I've kind of seen with the past several couples that I've met with is that they're looking to do more of a destination celebration versus a destination wedding. So I'm curious if anybody else is seeing that same trend where, they're doing their legal ceremony here in the US, but they want to just go to Mexico or somewhere in the Caribbean and just have, like 3-4 nights where they just hang out and celebrate with their guests, maybe do a private event or, group excursions, catamarans, stuff like that. So not doing like the full destination wedding in destination, but just doing like the celebration piece of it.
It's funny you say that because literally just this morning I replied to an email where I had a consult with this couple like a month ago, and it was just like a normal consult. They were doing the normal destination wedding, and I finally heard back from them and they're like, we're actually thinking we want to do something super intimate, skip the reception, skip the party, do a small ceremony type thing and just be with our 10 family members. And I thought it was super sweet because they still wanted to include their important people, but they're doing the same thing with the legal ceremony at home, and then they're just doing doing a little celebration in Mexico, which is really fun. They didn't want to do a local wedding just because of the cost of all of that. And then they wanted to do a destination wedding, but they still didn't want to pay that much. So I feel like this was their medium of being able to do still what they want, but on a price point that looks good for them too. But that was the first couple that I have had do that. Otherwise, I would say I haven't really run into that.
I have a unique situation. It's kind of those very similar, but a little different. I had a couple fall in love with a resort, but it was out of budget for their wedding. So what they decided to do was, and the resort that they chose is a little bit pricier. They chose to reach out to a local restaurant, and they're going to get married in a restaurant off-site. Just a small little like authentic Mexican restaurant, and they're not even charging them like a venue fee or anything like that. They're
Wow.
just pretty much just going there for dinner. And it's a small group. I want to say it's like 23 or 24 guests. But they're taking the money that they were going to use to pay for a wedding ceremony and splitting it amongst the guest rooms to help out with the cost of the elevated resort, which I thought was really cute.
Have you guys asked what the couple's reasoning behind that is?
Mine was definitely financial.
Yeah, I think for the couples that I've been working with recently, the one they're a Greek family, and so they said if we get married outside the church, it's going to be big issues with our family. So that's the intention there with ceremony at home and then destination celebration. For the other two couples, they just don't want the big ceremony, like they just don't want the big event. They just want to party with like their close people. But I mean, the flip side of it though is that it changes their concessions, right? Because they're not a destination wedding group, they're a social group instead. So another thing to kind of factor in there.
And
Yeah.
with room blocks too, if they don't hit the minimum, just because if it's such a small group.
Yeah, I haven't had many, I think, go that way, but it definitely could be happening. It's interesting because, there's so many costs that go with the wedding portion as well. Maybe some couples are choosing to skip that part. So maybe it's a trend we'll continue to see happening, and, let's definitely keep our eyes on it. Moving on. Last but not least, Kristen McNatt.
So I was thinking a fun topic would be all of the extras that couples are adding to their wedding. Something that makes their wedding super fun. When we got married, we added the dancers that came out, like to get the party started. And they kept our dance floor packed the entire night. Like they were so much fun to watch. I was talking to a bride yesterday, and they have water drums being added to their wedding reception, and they also have fire dancers being added to their wedding reception. No, we're not adding that. No. I don't think that's definitely not what I'm talking about. Although that is entertaining. I know you can add, like churro carts, or you could add, we have to talk about Lupido that we had at retreat, the donkey bar. But like, what else are you guys seeing brides add to their wedding receptions just to add that extra like fun factor?
I would say fireworks.
Like what type of fireworks, though?
So like the cold fireworks, obviously like around the dance floor, but I've also had a couple where they actually added fireworks that were shot out from in the ocean.
Yeah, because I always see that question in Facebook groups. I'm like, well, which type of fireworks are you talking about? Because there's a big price difference between the cold fireworks that they may put at the dance floor and shooting fireworks from the ocean.
Yep, this couple had both.
Fancy.
Yeah, their wedding was at Villa La Jolla, and it was absolutely stunning. So, they had their first dance and everything with the cold fireworks, and then, towards the end of the night, they're all kind of gathered out, and then just the fireworks over the ocean. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's funny because the unique thing I was going to say was from one of my weddings at Villa La Jolla too. And they hired a super cute cocktail vendor, and they made the prettiest cocktails with like real flowers in the drinks, made them sparkly. It was just the cutest little extra touch. They have the signature cocktails, but I just felt it was a little bit more of an elevated signature cocktail. And I personally just love anything with flowers. So getting a flower in your drink, I was like, oh, that's so cute.
That is really cute.
For me, it's an umbrella.
And you usually get them because you order girly drinks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think the best value add to a reception, to a wedding, in my opinion, is most resorts offer some version of a hora loca, is what they call it, like crazy hour, right? They're bringing in some some sort of insane costumed person, whether or not they're on stilts, whether or not they're in some sort of outfit, robot outfit, I don't know. But I do like a lot of the, you know, the guys on stilts or the robot outfits or the drummer guy that kind of come in during the reception because they had a lot of fun. They bring a lot of energy. As long as it's the right group. I have had groups before that have had something like that, and everybody's just like, oh my God. Like, and it's the most awkward response to it, and then it just, yeah, then that's a disaster. So you have to have the right crowd for it. But I'd say that's one of the best extras.
That is true. That kind of goes along the same lines, I feel like, for resort bars, because I feel like we get that question a lot. How's the nightlife? What's the bar night like? Well, it depends on the group. If you're bringing the energy with your people, you're going to have a good time. But if your people are just there to sit and chit chat amongst themselves, it's not going to be the same vibe. So I feel like those go hand in hand.
All right, I'm going to close it out. That's a wrap on today's episode of the BAI podcast. I hope you had as much fun listening as we did ranting, discussing destination weddings. If you enjoyed today's show, do us a favor, hit the follow button, leave a review, and share this with anyone who is looking for a shot of destination wedding wisdom. Hey, if you're thinking about planning your destination wedding and need someone in your corner actually knows how the game is played, feel free to reach us. Head over to beallinclusive.net and schedule your free consultation with one of our agents. We'll be happy to assist.
Sunny down in Mexico, the sun gets high.